Esther, what is this nonsense I'm hearing? Mama, Shut up! Mama Esther clapped her hands in frustration. You mean to tell me that after all the noise you made, you have no husband to show for it? How did I give birth to a fool? Hey, Chineke, my enemies will laugh at me, she said tearfully. Esther sniffled. Mama, I didn't know Paul would react like this. Mama Esther threw her hands in the air. Oh, you didn't know? You thought you could turn a wedding into a fashion show and the man would clap for you? You finished a whole 6 million naira on wedding gown, hair and bag. Did you plan to serve the wedding guests bundles of Brazilian hair and designer shoes? Esther Carlo had always been the kind of girl who loved attention. At just 22, she had built an image of herself as a woman of high standards. Esther was yet to get a university education, but she commanded such respect among many other gullible young girls because of the way she carried herself. Esther had just recently been engaged to Paul, a 28-year-old young man that deals on ladies' fashion. Paul was a hardworking man with a hustling spirit who had managed to expand his shop from one shop to two shops. He lived in a decent but modest 2-bedroom apartment in Yaba and drove a used car. He was ambitious, kind, and loved Esther deeply, but he wasn't the wealthy entrepreneur she had portrayed him to be to her friends. However, Paul never failed to provide for Esther in the little way he could. One cool evening, Esther sat in her room scrolling through her Instagram feed, double tapping on yet another lavish wedding photo. Her friend Ifeoma's wedding from last month was still trending on Nigerian wedding pages. The 11-tier cake, the choral beats worth millions of naira, and the convoy of latest Mercedes-Benz cars. Esther vowed that she was going to have a wedding that would be the talk of the town for many years to come. For the past year, she had carefully crafted an image on social media about her relationship with Paul. Her WhatsApp status always featured carefully edited photos of gifts she claimed were from him, and she had mastered the art of taking photos at high-end locations, making it seem like their lifestyle was luxurious. Esther told her friends at the hair salon, the market, and even the church that she was engaged to a wealthy man who could buy her the world if she wanted it. About my Paul, he just bought me the latest iPhone. I'm yet to pick it up from him because he took it to where they will customize it with my initials. You know, when it comes to Paul, he wants me, his future wife-to-be, to have nothing but the best. He doesn't like it when I stress myself, and money is definitely not his problem. Esther said with a casual wave of her hand as she engaged her two friends, Amaka and Shade, who had come around to spend the evening with her. You are so lucky, Esther. Some of us are still praying for a man who can at least buy us suya without complaining. Amaka sighed. Shade nodded. Yes, you are one lucky girl, Esther. I cannot wait for your wedding because I know it must be the talk of the town. You can say that again because my own Paul, my Odogu, does not disappoint. He has already told me to plan the wedding however I want. His job is to release money to me to make sure I have my dream wedding. You girls are lucky to be my friends because on my wedding day, many big shots will be there, and you know what that means. You two can also get yourselves rich men to marry, Esther said with a laugh that did not reach her heart because she was lying. You know, Paul is even talking about flying in an artist to perform at our wedding, she bragged one day while getting her nails done. Amaka's eyes widened. Wait, who? Davido or Wizkid? Esther waved a hand dismissively. Even bigger, she lied, enjoying the attention. Her stories became more outrageous each day, making it impossible to backtrack. Soon, it wasn't just her friends who were excited about the grand wedding. Word had spread, and her entire neighborhood eagerly awaited the event. Even her tailor, Mama Chidinma, had started designing a special ashobi for the occasion. Esther, I know say this wedding go hot. I don already order special lace from Dubai, she boasted, showing Esther a fabric catalog. Esther nodded confidently, though inside her heart pounded. The pressure was growing, but she couldn't afford to let anyone see her sweat. On reaching home, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Paul that read, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, my love. Been thinking about our future together." Esther stared at his message, her heart caught between love and social pressure. On her wall hung their only picture together, taken at a friend's birthday party. In it, Paul's smile was genuine, his arm protectively around her. It was their real life, not the fantasy she had created online. Looking at her reflection, she whispered, "What have I done? How do I even start retracting the things I have boasted about?" But even as guilt gnawed at her conscience, she was already planning how to convince Paul that they needed that dream wedding she had promised everyone. The kind that would trend on Bella Naija weddings and validate all her social media claims. Meanwhile, Paul, completely unaware of the mountain of expectations Esther had built, was finalizing plans for a moderate wedding. He picked her up the following morning and took her to a small restaurant in Lekki where they could discuss the wedding plans. As Paul sat across from Esther at the restaurant, he couldn't help but show his dissatisfaction with her plans for an elaborate wedding. "Esther, look at this budget again," Paul said, pointing at the figures on his iPad that Esther had sent to him earlier that morning. 7 million naira for just the hall and catering, another 5 million for decoration. This isn't reasonable. "But Paul, we need the Balmoral Hall. Everyone expects..." "Who is this everyone?" Paul interrupted, his voice gentle but firm. "This same everyone on your Instagram that thinks I own 3 houses in Banana Island?" Esther froze, her heart pounding. You know about that? My cousin showed me your WhatsApp status last week. The one where you posted a mansion in Banana Island and claimed it was our new home. I've been trying to understand why you'd say such a thing. Tears welled up in Esther's eyes. All my friends are having these huge weddings. Ifeoma's wedding was... Ifeoma's husband is a 50-year-old oil mogul, Esther. I'm a 28-year-old man selling ladies' wear in peace and contentment. Why are you comparing us? Esther scoffed and pulled her hands away. Paul, are you listening to yourself? What will people say? I have already told them we will have a grand wedding. You want to embarrass me? Paul sighed. Are we getting married for ourselves or for your friends? Esther's voice went up a notch. For myself, of course, I deserve a wedding that people will talk about for years. Paul tried to reason with her, but it was like pouring water on a stone. Esther wanted a wedding fit for royalty, and she didn't care how much it cost. They both left the restaurant with Esther refusing to talk to him. Days passed, and Paul tried again. He called her on the phone, and this time she picked up. Esther, let's consider our future. A big wedding will leave us with nothing to start our lives with. Paul, I can't be like those girls who do backyard weddings and feed their guests jollof rice with one piece of meat. My wedding must be a buffet. People must eat and talk about it forever. Paul groaned. Do you even hear yourself? You are focused on one day instead of our future. You are just stingy, Paul. If you really love me, you will do whatever it takes to make me happy, she said as she cut the call in anger. Paul loved Esther. He had saved up just enough money to give them a decent wedding. Since her insistence on having a big wedding, he had been trying his best to convince her to have a rethink, but she just wasn't listening. One afternoon, while at home in her parents' house, Paul paid Esther a visit. After exchanging pleasantries with Esther's mother and the follow-up refreshment her mother presented to him, Paul excused himself and took Esther to the dining area to discuss further on the wedding preparations. As they sat across each other, he held her hands and said gently, Esther, I know you want a big wedding, but let's be reasonable. We can use the money for something more important, like renting a bigger apartment since our family will soon be growing, or using it to further your education since I promised you that you will still go back to school. If I invest that 12 million naira you are requesting for into my business, do you know how much return I will get from that money? He asked. But you promised me that you will give me my dream wedding, Paul. I didn't know that your idea of a dream wedding was to impress people and spend millions on just one day when we have our whole lives ahead of us. But don't worry, darling. I know you want your big day to be a beautiful one, and I have been saving up for it. I have set aside 6 million naira for it. I believe that as the wise woman I know you to be, you will make judicious use of the money. I will transfer the money to you, and then I will send you pictures of some event centers that are equally beautiful and will make your big day magical. I will also send you the contacts of some caterers and hall decorators that come highly recommended but not overly priced. You have nothing to worry about, darling. We have a lifetime together to spend money, but for now, let us work within our limits, Paul said with a smile. The moment Paul made the transfer of 6 million naira to Esther's bank account, she smiled and warmed up to him. That's my girl. Now, let me leave you to go ahead with the plans. Feel free to choose any event center you want from the ones I sent to you. You can also go ahead and book an appointment with the caterers and hall decorators. Anyone you choose is okay by me, but they will need some sort of commitment, so you have to make some deposits with them so that they can get to work as well. After that, Paul stood up, gave her a warm hug and a kiss before leaving for his home. Esther grinned. She had wanted nothing less than 12 million naira for the wedding. Not that 12 million naira was going to be enough, but to her, the 12 million was her way of being reasonable. This Paul thinks he can stop me from having a wedding that will be talked about, not just in my neighborhood, but on different celebrity platforms. I will kick off the things that are more important to me with this 6 million naira. I'm sure that by the time he sees the cash commitment I have made for the things that I really want, he will have no choice than to make up the money to 12 million, she said to herself. The following morning, Esther transformed into a spending machine. First up, a luxury boutique where she bought the most expensive wedding gown she could find. Madam, this wedding gown you said you like is 1.4 million naira, the sales girl said. Don't worry, pack it, Esther said, without even blinking. She even picked out a reception gown that also cost a fortune. Then came the shoes, shiny designer heels that cost more than some people's house rent. And then a matching bag followed. After that, she moved to a high-end salon and bought bundles of human hair that was way beyond her limits. Instead of Esther to use the remaining 2.4 million and make deposit for a haul at least, Esther went on to prepare a special gift pack for the 12 bridesmaids she intended using. By the time she was done, she had spent almost everything. There was no money left for the venue, food, or even wedding invitations. She convinced herself that Paul would give her more money. After all, he was rich, wasn't he? The following day, she flaunted her purchases to Amaka and Shade. See my wedding gown now, she said, twirling. Check it out. Luxury or nothing. Amaka's mouth dropped. Girl, you are not playing. Your wedding will be like a celebrity's own. More, I cannot wait for the D-Day. But Shade frowned. Okay, but have you paid for the food and hall? And which event center will you be using? But instead, Esther waved her off. Paul will take care of that. My own is to get the things I personally need for my big day. But little did Esther know that her spending spree was about to backfire. 3 weeks before the wedding, Paul asked her for a breakdown of the expenses. Baby, it's 3 weeks to the wedding, and your printer guy is yet to deliver the wedding invitations. When are we going to send them out? Oh, that. He said he will deliver them this evening. Once he does, I'll send you some to send out. Esther lied. Alright, what about the hall? Have you paid for it? I need the receipt when you're done. I want to be sure we covered everything, or if anything else is remaining, I will know how to handle it. Oh, they said their POS is bad, but I'll do it tomorrow. POS is bad in 2025 in Lagos? What about transfer? Anyway, let me call them myself. No, I mean, they close early. I'll handle it first thing tomorrow, darling. Don't worry. But wait, how come you have not finalized the hall we are using and the wedding invitation card is coming out today? Which venue is on the card then? I have already finalized with the venue manager and we have agreed on the date and availability. All that is remaining is for me to make payment and we are good to go, Esther said, laughing sheepishly. So, how much do we have left? Paul asked. Esther laughed nervously. Well, you see, Paul's face darkened. Esther, don't tell me you spent everything. She twirled her hair and avoided his gaze. Well, I had to look good, The wedding gown, the hair, the shoes, they were necessary. Paul stood up slowly. You mean to tell me you spent all the wedding money I gave you on yourself? You couldn't even pay for a hall or the catering, Esther. Esther smiled weakly. Baby, I thought you would add more. You know what? Just give me another money, and this time I will spend it solely on the hall, catering, cake and other things, since I have already gotten all I need for myself. Paul's voice was dangerously calm when he said, Esther, I worked hard for that money, and you blew it on things that won't even feed our guests? Her confidence wavered. But Paul, it's my wedding. It's my only chance to show the world how lucky I am to have you. Paul took a deep breath, then said the words Esther didn't expect to hear. Esther, the wedding is off. What? Esther gasped. Paul shook his head. I can't marry someone who values vanity over our future. I need a wife, not a liability. Tears gathered in Esther's eyes. Paul, please, no. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. With that, he walked out, leaving Esther alone with her designer wedding gown, shoes, and a shattered dream. The next morning, Esther woke up with a pounding headache. She had spent the entire night crying, calling Paul's phone number non-stop, but he wouldn't pick. She went straight for her phone, hoping that Paul had changed his mind and returned her call while she was asleep. But her phone remained silent, not even a good morning text from him. She grabbed her phone and dialed Paul's number yet again. This time, she got the automated response. The number you have dialed is currently switched off. Please try again later. Thank you. Her stomach twisted in knots. Paul had never switched off his phone before. Maybe it was just a mistake. Maybe he just needed time to cool off. But Esther's illusion shattered when she stepped outside and saw Mama Chidinma, the tailor, staring at her with wide eyes. The woman whispered something to a neighbor, and before Esther could take another step, she heard it. We hear say Paul don't cancel the wedding. Esther froze. Her heart jumped into her throat as more voices joined in. They say na because she take wedding money buy human hair. Ah, wonders shall never end, another one said. Esther's legs felt weak. The street was buzzing with gossip, and she was at the center of it all. But how in the world was the news all over the place when she had only told her friend Amaka what happened? She rushed to Amaka's shop, panting. Amaka, tell me you didn't tell anyone. Amaka blinked innocently. Ah, me? I only told Shade, but I think Shade told her cousin, and her cousin told her neighbor, and her neighbor told Amaka. Esther groaned. Shade walked in at that moment, shaking her head. Esther, you have entered one chance, everybody knows. But how come you people have spread the news of what only happened last night? What is wrong with the both of you? No, what is wrong with you, Esther? Amaka responded angrily. How in the world could you spend a whole 6 million naira on clothes, shoes, and hair for your wedding? Who does that? Don't even come here looking for who to blame when you should be hiding your face in shame and running to Paul's house to plead with him. Perhaps he might give you another 6 million naira since he is very wealthy, Amaka said mockingly. Before Esther could respond, her phone buzzed. A message from her auntie in the village, and it read, Esther, what am I hearing? Is it true that Paul left you because you finished wedding money on Brazilian hair? Call me immediately. Esther wanted the ground to open and swallow her. Somehow, she managed to make it back to her room, but her phone buzzed non-stop with messages from friends and family. At a point, she had to switch off her phone. Her mother, who was just learning of what had happened, stormed into the room. "Esther, what is this nonsense I'm hearing?" "Mama, Shut up!" Mama Esther clapped her hands in frustration. "You mean to tell me that after all the noise you made, you have no husband to show for it? How did I give birth to a fool? Hey, Chineke, my enemies will laugh at me," she said tearfully. Esther sniffled. "Mama, I didn't know Paul would react like this." Mama Esther threw her hands in the air. "Oh, you didn't know? You thought you could turn a wedding into a fashion show and the man will clap for you? You finished a whole 6 million naira on wedding gown, hair and bag. Did you plan to serve the wedding guests bundles of Brazilian hair and designer shoes?" Esther buried her face in her palms. "Mama, please, I feel bad already." "Feel bad, Ke? You should feel worse, oh. People are laughing at us. Even Mama Nkechi said she wants to come and learn financial management from you, since you know how to spend money like water. See, if you know what is good for you, find a way to get Paul to change his mind about cancelling the wedding, or else this house will not accommodate you and I," her mother said as she stormed out of the room the same way she stormed in. If Esther thought things could get worse, she was mistaken. 3.5 weeks after the cancelled wedding, Paul shocked everyone. He married someone else. "Wait, so this rumor is true? This Paul is fast, oh," Amaka exclaimed as she scrolled through her phone. "See the pictures now. He married that girl from his church." Shade peered over her shoulder. "Her name is Chioma, Abi? Chai, see how simple her gown is, and yet see how happy she looks." Esther grabbed the phone and stared at the pictures, her heart pounding. Paul and Chioma stood smiling, surrounded by friends and family. The wedding was simple but elegant, and Paul looked, well, happy. Happier than she had ever seen him. Amaka sighed. "Esther, I won't lie to you. You lost a good man." Shade nodded. "A man that begged you to be reasonable, but you wanted to do celebrity wedding. Now see." Esther flung the phone onto the bed and turned away. "Please, just leave me alone, both of you. I have a lot of guilt weighing me down already. I don't need you to keep reminding me of my mistake." As days passed, Esther became the laughingstock of the neighborhood. "Ah, Madam Gucci, how market now?" Mama Nkechi teased as Esther walked past the market. "No vex, Esther. I hear say your wedding gown cost past my whole shop rent. As them don cancel wedding, you no go wear am go church? At least people go see the clothes wey make you no marry," another woman said, laughing. Esther clenched her fists and walked faster, her ears burning with embarrassment. At home, she locked herself in her room, refusing to eat or go out. Mama Esther banged on her door. "Esther, you better come out, Abi you wan chop shame and die inside there?" When Esther finally stepped out, her younger cousin, Chibuzo, smirked at her. "Sister Esther, I thought you were marrying a billionaire. What happened?" Esther shot him a deadly glare. "Chibuzo, don't let me slap you." But even Esther knew the truth. Her once envied life had become a joke. One afternoon, as Esther sat sulking on the veranda, a sleek black car pulled up in front of her house. Her heart skipped a beat. Could it be Paul? Had he come to take her back and tell her that his wedding to Chioma was all a lie and that he still loved and wanted her? But when the door opened, to her shock, it was Chioma, Paul's new wife. Esther's mouth dropped open as Chioma, looking radiant in a simple dress, walked towards her with a calm smile. "Good afternoon, Esther." "Chioma, what are you doing here?" Esther said, resisting the urge to rush and fight with her. But Chioma sat beside her. "I just wanted to check on you." "Why? To laugh at me?" Esther said, folding her arms. Chioma shook her head. "No, I know how hard this must be for you." "Hard? Please, I'm fine," Esther scoffed. "But I'm happy for you. At least you get to be the second option and married him quickly, as if your life depended on it. Congratulations, madam." Chioma chuckled. "Esther, I know you are not fine. I know what it's like to want something so badly that you lose sight of what really matters. And for the records, I didn't marry Paul as his second option. I have always seen him as a big brother in the church. And so when he was heartbroken and approached me for marriage, I accepted, since he convinced me that he was never going to marry you again, whether I accepted his proposal or not." Esther remained silent while Chioma continued. "Paul told me what happened. He said he tried to talk to you, but you didn't listen." "He told you everything?" "He did. And I don't blame you, Esther. Society makes women believe that a wedding is more important than the marriage itself." Esther blinked. She had expected Chioma to mock her, but instead, she was understanding. Chioma patted her hand. "I came to tell you that life isn't over, Esther. You made a mistake, yes, but you can learn from it. Focus on yourself, build something meaningful, and when the right man comes, you won't need to impress anyone." Tears welled up in Esther's eyes. "Do you think someone will ever want to marry me again?" Chioma smiled. "That, my friend, depends on you." As Chioma left, Esther sat there, deep in thought. For the first time, she realized that maybe, just maybe, this was her chance to change. After Chioma's visit, Esther couldn't sleep. Her mind kept replaying everything. The cancelled wedding, Paul moving on so quickly, the humiliation, and Chioma's surprising kindness. The next morning, she dragged herself out of bed, determined to face the world again. But first, she needed a job. "Mama, I want to start working," she announced over breakfast. "Eh? You? Work? Since when?" "Since reality slapped me in the face." "So you want to work now that Brazilian hair and designer bags have stolen your husband, eh?" "Mama, I beg, let's not start." "Anyway, it's not too late to turn things around, my daughter. Thankfully, you are still young, and a job will teach you some things about life that you cannot learn elsewhere. But start small. Don't look down on any job." And with that, Esther's journey to redemption began, one awkward, hilarious job interview at a time. Esther's job hunt was a disaster. She had never worked a day in her life, and it showed. At her first interview in a boutique, the manager frowned at her resume. "You have never worked before?" Esther laughed nervously. "Well, I've worked on myself, personal development." The manager sighed. "This one is wasting my time. Next person, please." At another job, she applied to be a waitress. The supervisor handed her a tray of drinks to test her skills. Esther barely took 2 steps before the entire tray crashed to the floor. The supervisor shook his head. "Madam, abeg, go find another calling, you hear?" As she trudged home, exhausted, Amaka called. "How was your jump hunting?" Esther groaned. "Let's just say, if failure was a person, it would look like me." Amaka burst into laughter. "Chai, so Madam High Class has now joined the hustle." Esther sighed. "Amaka, please, I need encouragement, not mockery." Sorry, but don't give up. Try again tomorrow, okay?" Just as she was about to give up, Esther stumbled upon a small cafe looking for a cashier. Desperate, she applied. The owner, a no-nonsense woman called Madam Kate, eyed her. "You no get experience, but you look desperate. I like desperate people. They work hard. You will start tomorrow." Esther was overjoyed until she saw the uniform. A bright orange apron with Madam Kate Puffs and Tea printed in bold letters. She groaned. "Me, Esther, wearing this?" Madam Kate smirked. "Better wear am well. At least you are not wearing shame again. You too know about the wedding?" "Who doesn't know? No be your picture full internet so?" "Well, the good thing is that you are still young, and before you know it, people will forget about you and focus on another trending matter. But I hope you learned a big lesson from this," Madam Kate replied. At work, Esther fumbled a lot. She gave the wrong change, mixed up orders, and once dropped a whole bag of flour on herself. Madam Kate shook her head. "Na wow, na cashier I employ you, no be comedian." But over time, Esther got better. For the first time, she felt proud of something she had earned on her own. One afternoon, as she was arranging the display, the doorbell chimed. She looked up and froze. It was Paul. He looked surprised too. "Esther." "Paul," Esther said as she swallowed hard. "You work here?" "Yes, I do," she said, straightening up. Paul nodded slowly. "That's unexpected." "Well, life is full of surprises," Esther said, forcing a smile. "I heard you were doing well." "I am, just in a different way than I planned," she chuckled. For a moment, they stood there, silent. Then Paul smiled. "I'm glad to see you are okay." And just like that, he left. Esther exhaled, realizing she no longer felt pain, just the realization that she was finally on the right path. Esther continued working at the cafe, growing more confident in her abilities. One day, Madam Kate approached her with a serious expression. "You have improved, Esther. You are hardworking now." Esther grinned. "Madam Kate, is that a compliment?" "Before, Uncle, you think I give free praises?" They both laughed. Esther was no longer the proud girl obsessed with appearances. She had become someone who valued honest work. One evening, after closing, she saw Paul across the street with his wife, looking happy. It no longer hurt. Instead, she smiled and walked away, proud of how far she had come. She didn't know if she would find a good man, but one thing was certain: if she ever did, she would value the marriage more than the wedding, and the wedding was going to be a very small and quiet wedding, she promised herself. Thank you so much for watching the story. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. and let me know what you think about the story in the comment section. I would love to hear from you. Until I come your way again soon, stay happy.